I'm sure a lot of you guys know exactly where this video is going based on the slideshow, but just in case you're not, it starts with an image of the Travis Scott Astroworld entrance to the performance, an image of a bunch of memorials laid out for victims, and the aftermath of the venue where everything horrible went down. For those that don't remember, on November 5th of 2021, the Astroworld concert took place where thousands of people crammed themselves in to this very tight area. Because of how poorly this event was set up, something called a crowd crush took place. This is absolutely terrifying. There are tons of videos of it online, but this is essentially when everyone in the crowd starts pushing and moving back and forth, and people in there get suffocated. In total, 10 people lost their lives, 8 of them at the concert that night, with the youngest being 9, and 2 of them lost their lives later. If you're wondering why this is back in the media now, there's a new documentary that was released, and it's very disturbing. Well, we've definitely been getting a lot of these retail store videos. Most of them have been about abandoned buildings, but now it looks like we're transitioning over into tragedies. This TikTok slideshow has 4 different images. The first one showing this Charleston sofa superstore. The second image showing the exact same storefront with smoke coming out the front. An image of the fire itself. And finally, a topographical view. Back on June 18th of 2007, firefighters in Charleston, South Carolina received a call at around 7:08 p.m. from the Sofa Superstore stating that there was a fire taking place in one of the loading docks. The fire started off relatively small at first, but very quickly spread throughout the entire 42,000 square foot building and entered the showroom where a flashover occurred, causing the structure to rapidly collapse, pinning a bunch of firefighters inside, totaling in 9 of their deaths. This had been the deadliest firefighter disaster in the US, directly after I hate to say this, guys, she lost her life right after this video was recorded. That is what the account that uploaded this video wants you to think. That's actually not true. This video shows a woman sitting inside of a vehicle. We can see a group of people outside trying to break the window, and she has this smug look on her face like she's completely safe. The car door then opens, she turns her head briefly, and the video cuts off, so we're left to believe that she just forgot to lock the door and that these people were trying to get inside to get to her for whatever reason. In reality, what we're looking at is a video that was uploaded a few years back, and it's just a demonstration for an extremely durable type of glass. She's trying to show that it's impenetrable. It's pretty common for these car windows that are durable to go through these demonstrations, whether or not it's bulletproof glass, or generally just durable glass that keeps the people who buy it safe. Also, if you look in the back, you can see this guy with a microphone. He's the same one trying to break in, and all these people are just...
I'm in a whole lot of pain. I want to pull my eyes out of my face.
This guy, really, he's not overreacting, and the entire reason he's acting like this is because of a single fruit. This clip doesn't have a whole lot of context, but this guy can be seen screaming out, crying in pain, stating that he wants to tear his eyes out, and again, this is for a very good reason. That's because he recently had a run-in with something known as a manchineal tree prior to recording this video. These trees are found along the shoreline of the Caribbean, and they're oftentimes referred to as the deadliest tree in the world. The problem here is the sap from these trees is extremely caustic, meaning if you come into contact with it, it's going to end up blistering your skin, causing burns. The fruit that this tree produces are also referred to as death apples, and that's exactly what happened to this guy. He was apparently messing around with one of these apples and then later rubbed his eyes, which obviously got those compounds into his eyes. No joke, even burning this in a fire can cause serious eye damage from the smoke.
Why you shouldn't eat mad honey.
Mark this down for one thing that I personally will never try because this terrifies me a little too much. Now, this video was posted to TikTok. I couldn't find the original video here, but in this video, this guy is supposedly taking a spoonful of mad honey. Then a short while later, he can be seen lying back on the bed, clearly in misery, not feeling too great after what he had just consumed. Until today, mad honey was not something I was really familiar with, but apparently it has a variety of different side effects, including hallucinations. The entire reason for this is because of where the bees collect their pollen from to create their honey. The rhododendron family specifically contains something known as granotoxins, which in large doses obviously can be very dangerous, but in small, light doses, people use it recreationally. This stuff is quite expensive online, but surprisingly readily available for purchasing. But as you guys can see, it doesn't really look like a fun thing to do, and there are some dangerous side effects as well.
Would I be able to get 20 empanadas? Actually for the homeless, by the way.
I give you free for the homeless.
Yo, fuck the homeless!
Not only is this considered pretty douchey behavior, but this is also actually illegal to an extent. This video was uploaded by a TikTok creator by the name of Dom the Troll. He's another one of those public pranksters, and in this prank, he asks this guy for 20 empanadas and then says that it's for the homeless, which makes this guy give it to him for free because he, feels guilty and wants to give back to the homeless. But in reality, Dom did not intend to give these to the homeless and instead uses this as a free food glitch. Well, first off, in doing this, you're being an asshole to not only the homeless people, but also the business owner as well, especially considering that place looked to be a locally owned business. And second, obtaining goods or services under false pretenses could technically be considered fraud. It's the same thing as if you were to lie about your age to get a lower rate or a discount when entering a place, or pretending that it's your birthday.
This could have ended horribly.
What is this alcohol?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what happened to this person in the middle here, but since the video was posted, I'm assuming that they were okay. This video shows 3 individuals sitting on the front of this boat. The person of interest here is sitting in the middle, and partway through the video, they fall into the water while this boat or watercraft is moving forward and get pushed underneath. Now, I'm not too sure what type of watercraft they're on, but obviously falling off the front of a boat is very bad because you have a pretty high chance of getting hit by the propeller. And it really doesn't matter how large or small the boat propeller is, it has a lot of potential to do deadly damage. If you look up human boat propeller accident, you guys can find these images. I obviously can't show you them, but this is what happens to whales that get hit by propellers. So you can imagine what happens to humans. This video I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Another famous example, I think this guy ended up losing his leg. So again, this is very, very dangerous. Tried to pull a fast one on me, but this time it ain't gonna work. I know exactly what's going on here. This video had little to no context. It shows this woman digging a hole next to this body of water, something that looks like a massive cobra swimming towards the woman, and then she picks up this shovel and slams it on the head multiple times and chases it through the water. Of course, most people realized that the original video there was fake, but there were still some naysayers in the comments believing we were seeing some sort of mega king cobra, which, by the way, are excellent swimmers, so it could track. I could see how you'd think that. But what we're actually looking at is a king cobra mask. I didn't think it would be this fast to find the answer, but my first search on Amazon showed the exact mask used in the video. Here's the back of the one on Amazon versus the one seen in the video. The guy swimming here with the mask on got hit in the head by the shovel multiple times. It's not an actual snake.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby.
It might have looked like just one leech, but in reality, we're looking at possibly over 100. This TikTok that I got tagged in starts off by saying, thinking I just got an ordinary leech for my ecosystem, showing this ordinary leech. It then shows the leech up against the glass, and you'll notice right here around the midsection are a bunch of these wavy objects. Those are exactly what you think they are. They're baby leeches. I want to make you guys aware right out the gate, not all leeches do this. Only the mother leeches from the Glossiphonidae family will carry their young and make sure that they survive. The baby leeches, after hatching from the egg, will then use their suckers and attach to the mother. The mother will parade them around until they're old enough, and she will bring them to their first host, where they'll detach, then live on their own, and she'll make sure they get their first meal. It definitely sounds like nightmare fuel, but to be honest, at the end of the day, these are just animals trying to survive, and this mother is taking care of her young. Tell you what, you guys are doing a great job of finding videos that do not have one definitive answer. It's kind of driving me crazy, I'm not gonna lie. So this video doesn't have a lot of context, but this person's recording the side of their house. We can see these rocks, and emanating from below these rocks, we can hear these little high-pitched squeaky / whining scream sounds. Most people thought potato bugs were causing this sound, but that's actually not true. They only make a hissing sound like this. Other people thought it might possibly be a cicada, but this is what a cicada sounds like. Volume warning, by the way. Realistically, and I would bet everything on it, there's a small sprinkler system running through these rocks, and there's probably a leak on one of the valves here. The air and water going through that little hole, you can make the noise with your mouth like this. Like, I'm not gonna do it too much, but you guys get the idea.
This is proof that voodoo is actually real.
Nope, sorry guys, it's just not possible, and that's it. You're still here? All right, let's break it down a little bit more. This video was sent to me through Instagram DM. In it, this guy can be seen standing on the side of the road, and the glaringly obvious issue here is the fact this guy appears to have a goat leg. This video reminds me a lot of this other video that went viral quite some time ago, showing this guy who allegedly cheated on his partner, and as a result, half of his body got turned into a cow. Now, this one was pretty easy to disprove. Likely there was a hole where his lower half was hidden and they put these here, or he's just missing his legs in general. This one has one of two options. Number one, this guy is actually missing a leg, and this is just an illusion that he pulls off frequently. Or number two, this guy has his leg taped up behind his hamstring, which might actually be more likely because you'll notice he has two slides here. Why would he need this if he didn't have another leg?
Yes, I can. It's a public beach, dude. The public beach!
Okay, I know that right away this looks like a really dangerous situation to be in, but in reality it's actually not. This TikTok that I got tagged in shows this guy with a laptop sitting right next to something that looks like an unactivated torpedo. The guy with the laptop then confronts the cameraman, and you might believe that that's because he's worried about his safety, but really, this isn't actually a torpedo. More than likely, what we're actually looking at is something known as a UUV, which is the sea's alternative to a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle. There are quite a few organizations that use these underwater unmanned vehicles, the Navy probably being up at number one, but the commercial sector does use it as well. You also have different types of UUVs. You have autonomous ones that do their own set of programmed responses and figure their own things out. And you also have ones that are controlled by people manually for reconnaissance.
You actually don't have to worry about this.
Money.
Well, I sure saw a lot of theories, but I tell you what, not a single one of them were correct on this video, so let's break it down. This video that I got tagged in, posted to TikTok, got nearly 62 million views, and it is not AI despite the fact that it looks like it. It shows these two weird black creatures sitting inside of these crocs, and of course, it's quite off-putting. Now, a lot of people thought we were looking at something known as a house hippo, but I've got bad news for you guys. House hippos do not exist. This was something that was aired on television a while ago that for some reason people still think is real, even though it was completely fictitious. Other people thought this was a sigbin. If you don't know what that is, it's from Philippine mythology, and it's a blood-sucking creature. And while I could see how you'd think something like that, we're actually looking at a very unique type of guinea pig, the black hairless guinea pig. These were first bred back in 1978 through a very specific mutation, and as you guys can see, it perfectly matches up.
Let's try the gummy worm fruit. Right here we have Cecropia.
There are so many things out there that I would never eat for $1 million, but this right here is not one of them. I would 100% eat that. Up until today, this is a fruit that I had no idea existed, but this guy is showcasing it. His name is Zane's World, so shout out to Zane's World. And what's being consumed here is known as a Cecropia fruit. Most of you watching this video probably have never seen these before, and that's because they're native to Central and South America, and they're really well known for this long, slender finger shape. Oftentimes, they're referred to as gummy worm fruit because of how floppy they are, as well as their texture, and it's actually really satisfying watching people harvest these because you kind of just pull them off the stalk and then eat them. They're also described as having a fig/raspberry type of texture with those small seeds, if you know what I'm talking about, and then a honey-dew-like flavor. So, you know, I actually really want to try one of these. I wish they sold these at stores. These pictures might seem like they have literally nothing to do with ultra pure water, but don't worry guys, it'll all be clear here in a minute. So there are multiple different images in this video. We can see these weird golden orbs, these guys sitting in these inflatable rafts, and this very clear water. Now, seen in these images here is something known as a neutrino observatory. This one is located in Japan, and inside of this observatory is an excessive amount of ultra pure water. Ultra pure water might sound like the most refreshing drink on this planet, but you'd be wrong. Drinking too much of this would kill you. That's because the water is so pure that it acts like a leech, sucking out minerals from anything that it comes into contact with, including your body. This would do the exact opposite of hydrate you. It would just go through, sucking out your minerals and nutrients, leaving you dry. Drinking a little bit of this probably wouldn't kill you, but it really wouldn't do anything beneficial, and there's only negatives from it. There's no way of knowing whether or not this is real. My intuition's telling me that it's not, however, the lesson here is very real. This is another Impacto music video that I got tagged in that shows this person inside of a hotel room recording this really weird device coming under their door. It quickly becomes apparent though exactly what this is as soon as it hooks around the handle. I feel like most people take this for granted, but hotel room break-ins do happen relatively often for a variety of different reasons. And just because you can't really break into a hotel room by picking the lock because it's obviously electronic, that doesn't mean people can't break in. Usually they use these devices here that loop under the door, grab onto the handle, and allow them to pull down on the handle, pretty much opening it from the inside out. This is why you always deadbolt your door, and even then there are ways for people to open these deadbolts. So if you really are trying to keep everyone out, you probably want to get your own device that people can't necessarily break into.
Would you eat this for $1 million?
Yeah, no. While I know this probably would not kill me, I don't think I could stomach this for $1 million. No way. It's been a while since I've been tagged in a mold maxing video, but this one shows this person who's clearly left the bowl out for far too long, and we can see this hairy gray mold. Now, when it comes to food mold, there are some pretty basic guidelines here. You guys can pause this if you want to read it. But generally speaking, there are 3 main types of mold that are going to be found on food. The first one is Aspergillus. Consuming this isn't necessarily bad, but if you have a weakened immune system, you could get sick from it. The second is Penicillium, which is actually harmful. This can impact your kidneys negatively and obviously cause things like nausea. And the third and final is Rhizopus, which kind of looks like gray hair. This is an opportunistic mold, meaning if you have a weakened immune system, it could negatively impact you, and that's probably what this is. This trend was already starting to get on my nerves. I've been hearing it every single day. I've been having dreams about this, but now it's getting on my nerves for a completely different reason. This is another Impacto music video that I got tagged in. It shows this woman very high up above the Earth's surface, clearly on this line. She swings out, and then the video makes it appear as though she accidentally falls off, and obviously we're left thinking that she just plummeted down to the earth below. And this is why this trend's getting on my nerves, because people are trying to make things appear as though they're bad when they're not. This was very obviously a setup for this type of skydiving, where people go up in hot air balloons attached to swings, obviously carrying their parachutes, and then they swing off into the abyss and fall. There are many varieties of this. A lot of people will do this one where they swing out and do backflips, but generally this is something you'd see in a Red Bull video. We're acting like something horrible happened here when this woman probably is having the time of her life.
This prank is actually not legal.
Look, I understand this looks like fun. It would be hard not to do this if you had a bottle of dish soap in hand next to a fountain, but it's a horrible idea. It's been a while since I've covered a video like this, but this was sent to me through Instagram DM. In this video, this person can be seen dumping soap into a fountain located on their campus. They come back the next day, it's completely filled with bubbles, and while this might look like a funny and harmless prank, it's not. There's a few different reasons why this is the case. Number 1, putting soap or detergent into a fountain can ruin the filters and cause a lot of damage, and therefore causing property damage is obviously illegal. Second, depending on what you're putting into the fountain, those bubbles could actually be toxic to the local wildlife surrounding the fountain. There's also rare scenarios where these bubbles will break off and go into the road, potentially obscuring drivers' vision, causing them to crash. And finally, it's just a rude thing to do because now somebody else has to clean it. Pescatarian, so I wouldn't really be eating this anyways, but I figured I'd warn you guys, don't get the Wendy's Takis meal. Over the past 24 hours here on TikTok, I've scrolled across a couple of videos that have been a little concerning. They show people laying down in hospital beds, stating that you should avoid the Wendy's Takis Fuego meal at all costs. Now, a lot of people love spicy food, there's tons of reviews on this, and none of these people have ended up in the hospital. So my first thought here was that this is potentially some sort of guerrilla marketing tactic to make people want to try this forbidden food. What are the odds that multiple people are posting on TikTok not to eat this? The other alternative explanation, which realistically is probably the case, is that these people had pre-existing stomach ulcers and the spicy meal made them worse, or they experienced extreme acid reflux from the spicy food that they might have thought was some sort of heart attack and went to the hospital from there.
He looks like this for a reason.
Odds are you've probably seen this viral clip floating around for a really long time or in thumbnails of YouTube videos clickbaiting it, so let's talk about the context behind it. This clip without any context is pretty disturbing. It shows this guy walking out with a large mask on his face, his eyes are clearly swollen shut, and his family in the background is very upset. The man seen wearing the mask is this guy, Esteban Carpio, who back in 2005 got into trouble and was brought into the police station after stabbing an 85-year-old woman. There were initially 2 investigators questioning Esteban, however one of them left, and then Esteban ended up attacking this investigator, James Allen, taking his life. Esteban then escaped through the 3rd-story window, falling. He was later apprehended and a cop punched him in the face 3 times to subdue him. This mask was then used later to prevent him from any violent outbursts like biting or spitting. I'm sorry guys, no, we're not bringing it back. This has been going on for 3 whole years now, it's enough. This video that I got tagged in has little to no context, but in it we can see this weird looking tree in the background. The person zooms in on it, the caption says, help, and we have this sound consistent with, say it with me now, the lepidodendron tree, referencing this very famous meme where if you see one of them, they've been extinct for a long time, and you've probably fallen into a rip in the fabric of space and time. But no, this is obviously not a lepidodendron tree, nor does it really resemble one. The reason why this tree looks so weird is because it's not actually a tree, it's a cell phone tower. Because people don't really want to look at a large chunk of metal that ruins the appeal of nature, these companies have learned to avoid this by camouflaging their cell phone towers, making them look like trees. You have many different versions, even ones that look like palm trees, and they do look pretty realistic.
What? I thought it was burnt, but this is just straight up a whole different road.
Honestly, you should consider yourself lucky because not only is this rare, but I feel like for this to happen, it has to be done on purpose. This is quite the interesting video that was sent to me showing this person opening up this loaf of bread, and in the middle of it, there's a completely different loaf. They're not the same type of bread. As we all know, bread oftentimes has weird deformities like hollow cavities in the center, but again, this is something that won't happen naturally like other defects. This has to be done using different types of dough when cooking the bread. For me, the first thing that comes to mind is marbled bread, which, as you'll notice, has 2 different types of bread in it. And usually it's made just like this, twisting these 2 different types of dough together to get that interesting spiral shape. So what happened here is somebody either purposefully stuck this different dough in here to surprise the person who bought the loaf of bread, or this accidentally fell inside. Either way, this is really unique and not something that I've ever seen in person nor seen posted on the internet.
No, this is not what it looks like.
Boy, is this alcohol?
All right. I see what you're commenting. Delete that comment, calm down. It's not what you think it is. This TikTok video that I got tagged in was raising a lot of eyebrows. It shows this person holding a spoon, and inside of the spoon we see a bunch of these small wriggling objects swimming around. So people of course thought that they were human swimmers. I'm sorry though, that's not possible. Sperm are extremely small. You cannot see them with your naked eye. A camera especially would not be able to record it. So what we're actually looking at is a certain type of worm. Given the context clues and the fact that the person who uploaded this owns an aquarium, we're probably looking at these small white worms known as detritus worms. Detritus worms are very good for the ecosystem of an aquarium. Not only do fish feed off of them, but these worms also decompose organic material, helping to keep the tank clean. I also verified this from the person's account who uploaded this. They are using these as food.
If you see this, destroy it immediately.
Money.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very disappointed. Not because of the video that I got tagged in here, but because of the comments on this video. This clip doesn't have a whole lot of context. We can see this guy recording the back of a stop sign, we can see this weird looking box on the back of the stop sign, with some creepy audio overlaid on top of it. Pretty sure it's the creepy audio having people leave comments like this, but I can't make this up, dude. We need to start tearing down shit like that when we find it. Really, dude? Take that out, bro. Go get a hammer. Looks like the surveillance state is incoming. Bro, Google is free, man. Check this out. We zoom in on the box here, we can see 2 words. Stealth reader. You can find images of these stealth readers readily available online. You'll notice it's the exact same triangle logo. These are used by utility companies to check the meter remotely so they don't have to go out and manually check the meter. You want to tear something out that helps utility workers give you power.
Oh my god.
There are only a few different options for what this could be. It's not really going to make this any less gross, but on the bright side, this is probably harmless to consume. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in that went viral. It shows this person cutting open a box of juice, but instead of finding juice on the inside, they find this disgusting blob. And unfortunately, this has been documented many times, much more often than we want to give it credit for. So what could this possibly be? First off, this could be a SCOBY, a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. This is actually what's responsible for kombucha, the fermentation process, so this can show up in juice randomly. It could very well be a mold of some kind too, or just bacteria itself, though more than likely this is some sort of fungi, either a mold or again a SCOBY. In any event, while this is extremely gross to look at, you're probably not going to experience any negative side effects from drinking this.
See this right here? 100% fatality rate. Every motherfucker who ended up in there has died.
You might think you're built different. You might be the best swimmer in the world. In fact, you might even be Michael Phelps. But if you fell into this, you're not getting out. This is a video that was posted 2 years ago. I have already covered it, but it's going viral again. So in it, we can see this guy pointing to this area of water saying that it has a 100% fatality rate. And what's concerning about this is the fact that this looks like a pretty unassuming stretch of water. What this guy is talking about here is known as the Harrisburg drowning machine. This is yet another low-head dam. We've talked about these before, but these are exceptionally dangerous because when you fall in, there's a backwash that kind of holds you there like a washing machine, and it's really difficult to get out. The Harrisburg drowning machine is one of the most infamous low-head dams. That's because since its creation, it's killed 29 people ranging from 3 to 65 years old. Some of the victims didn't know the dam was there, some people thought they could beat it, but either way, it took a lot. This is a rare day, guys, I know. Instead of talking about something extremely disturbing, I'm actually talking about something pretty cute. This clip went extremely viral on TikTok. It shows this person zooming in on a small green insect. That insect then turns and looks at the camera and starts swaying back and forth, almost looks like it's dancing. Now, I was a little bit surprised because a lot of people did think this was an aphid, but it's actually not an aphid. What we're actually looking at is something known as a leafhopper nymph. For context, a lot of you guys have probably seen these small green winged insects. The nymphs are just that, except without the wings. It's also very common for these leafhopper nymphs to do this little dance. That's for 2 reasons. Number 1, the dance kind of helps them get some depth perception and understand where things are. And number 2, it helps keep predators away, kind of moving like a leaf would in the wind, somewhat of a camouflage effect.
There's a reason the heads are here.
Despite the fact this looks like something out of a horror movie, this actually isn't creepy at all, and in fact it's a little bit sad. Recently, people have been talking about this field full of these large abandoned statues. This video shows a couple of people exploring it, and if you're familiar with American history, you'll notice that all of these statues here are former presidents. These decaying presidential statues are located in Virginia on a seemingly random field, and there are 42 of these busts. Before looking like this, though, they were located in a somewhat popular attraction by the name of Presidential Park. However, back in 2010, due to financial issues, the park had to shut down. Because of this, a man ended up hauling all of these away and placing them on his property in hopes that eventually they would become refurbished and maybe the park would open back up, but of course that hasn't happened. You can visit these statues, however, the owner of the property sets his own dates where you can do pop-up tours.
Imagine if they hadn't moved in time.
This is some straight up nightmare fuel, guys. At least that's what it looks like, not really. This is another extremely viral TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows these individuals stargazing at nighttime when out of the darkness comes this machine that then attempts to consume the blanket they're sitting on and then goes after their phones and other valuable items. This does look terrifying, and you guys are probably wondering what would happen if these people didn't move, so let's break it down. The machine that we're looking at is known as a cut cat. This is the exact model, and it's created by Eurogreen. There's not a lot of information available online, but we can surmise that this is a robot used for cutting lawns. And when it comes to safety, this thing will turn around if it runs into a large object. It will not suck you under and run you over. However, I wouldn't be too confident about safeguards when it comes to running over objects. This thing didn't turn around. They had to pick it up and grab everything out from underneath. I see it, you see it, we all see it. This hand signal right here is unmistakable. This is yet another Impacto music video that I got tagged in that shows these 3 individuals dancing together in front of a green screen. Things look normal. The guy in the back, though, then proceeds to put his hand like this and then close the fist over top. And for those that don't know, this hand signal is synonymous with an SOS sign or requesting help. The person that does this is usually in a situation of DV or potentially human trafficking. Now, when it comes to this being a social media video, though, I am a little bit doubtful that this is indeed a situation that requires this. I feel like this is more for views. The reason why I think this is because this is a universal sign and pretty much everyone can recognize this. A person editing and uploading these videos probably would notice this and pretty quickly call this out. I've said it once, and I will say it 1,000,000 times. This is exactly why you do not have wild animals as pets. This is a clip that most people have probably never seen before. It shows this martial artist, a bear, and a TV host, and out of nowhere, the bear ends up attacking the TV host, and that's where the clip ends. We don't know really what happens. For context, this happened on a Polish TV show, this guy was Russian, and this is a circus bear. The reason why the bear attacked the TV host is not 100% confirmed, but it's thought that she startled the bear because she sat down while he wasn't looking. Now, the woman in this clip did survive, and it's actually for a not so great reason. I know that that sounds bad, but really the reason why she survived is because the bear was declawed, which is extremely inhumane, but it's something that these circus trainers will do so the bears can't maul them. Sadly, the bear was put down for this. Her name was Asia. Most people would probably never do anything like this, but just in case, never put a lava lamp on a stovetop. This vague video shows a person placing a lava lamp on a stovetop, then 2 images right afterwards showing this man by the name of Philip Quinn, and the caption, POV, you put a lava lamp on the stove, then everything goes black. For context, Philip Quinn is from my home state of Washington. He specifically lived in Kent, and back in 2004, while inside of his trailer, he decided to place a lava lamp on the stove. The reasons for why he did this are unclear at this point, but Philip clearly was not aware that lava lamps cannot sustain that much heat and that they have the ability to explode. So what happened is the pressure inside of the lava lamp built up too much, the glass couldn't withstand it anymore, it exploded, and it acted kind of like a frag grenade, sending a shard of glass directly into Philip's heart. Philip managed to stumble into his bedroom, but it was too late and he died. You'll have to excuse me for being a little bit incredulous of this video because this just seems pretty unrealistic. In any event, this is one of those urbexing videos that I got tagged in. This one shows a person exploring an abandoned prison and supposedly locking themselves inside of a cell. And believe it or not, this is actually realistic. Now, when it comes to urbexing, there are lots of different dangers. You could have squatters that are hostile towards you. There could be substances that are airborne that could cause you illness, but locking yourself into a prison cell is not on that list. I guess it should be though, because for those that didn't know, doors in prisons usually have something known as a slam lock, and this will lock every time the door is closed. The force from the door closing causes the spring inside to engage and activate the locking mechanism. That being said, I do believe this door might have actually locked, but if you guys look down here, you'll notice there's a hole, so I'm assuming this guy is able to reach out and open the door from the other side.
Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. And right now, you can say...
Dude, what in the world is going on in Poland? You guys don't need me to tell you this, but this is insane. Over the past couple of days, there have been multiple videos posted to TikTok that have gone super viral showing people climbing up the side of this building. And what's even more concerning about this is the fact that these guys are not wearing any protective equipment, nor do they even have a harness. The building that these people are climbing up is the Presidential Hotel located in Warsaw, Poland. In total, this building is 460 feet tall, and the people that are doing this are not crazy. Well, they are, but they're not literally crazy. This is a sport known as free climbing. Free climbing is the same thing as regular climbing, just without any safety measures. Now, from what I could tell, there were a couple of people that did this, but this shirtless guy was the one who went the most viral. There were clips of him partway up in one of the bars while climbing, and thank the Lord, the guy made it all the way up to the top, 460 feet in total. Nice job.
Just cut open this watermelon, and I was like, this kind of looks weird.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I loosely consider myself to be a watermelon expert because I did so many videos about them back in 2023. This video that I got tagged in shows this person questioning this very oddly colored watermelon because it looks straight up fake. This is far too deep of a red and it's also shiny. So first off, to understand what's going on, you have to understand what gives watermelon its color. It's due to a compound known as lycopene. As a watermelon ripens, the lycopene builds up, creating that red color, but eventually watermelons can ripen too much, i.e. start rotting, and that's when the red color becomes a little bit darker, and as it progresses, you start getting this slimy, mushy texture that's just generally undesirable. If the watermelon's uncut, it might start foaming, and if you let it progress too long, it will turn into this. So this watermelon right here is probably just about to be too far gone to the point where you wouldn't want to eat it.
Never take your braces off at home.
Man. Please guys, whatever you do, don't do this. This video recently has been going viral on TikTok, and it's pretty shocking to say the least. It shows this guy with braces on, you can see him checking them out, and then he starts going to town and removing them, basically just prying them off of his teeth with a spoon. Now, I was not aware of this, but back in 2023, people started a trend where they would self-remove their braces when they thought their teeth were straight enough with a spoon or with pliers. And a lot of people were happy about the way their teeth turned out. However, there are lots of negatives that could pop up in the future due to doing something like this. First off, you can severely damage your teeth by attempting to remove them yourselves. At the very least, you're looking at chipping. At the very most, you're looking at possibly losing a tooth. On top of this, you are not going to have a retainer that keeps your teeth in place. They're just going to shift back after you remove the braces. Not to mention the adhesive will stay on your teeth.
If you find this bird, you're rich.
Not too sure why this video got so many views, but because so many of you tagged me in it, I will talk about it. This video is quite simple. It shows this pigeon flying up off of this tank, and then it starts doing these aerial acrobatics, flipping itself over and over, to the point where people thought the pigeon was actually getting shot. But no, these pigeons are actually bred for this. We're looking at a type of pigeon known as the tumbler pigeon. These aren't just your average run-of-the-mill city pigeons. These guys are aerial acrobats. They've been domestically bred now for centuries, and it's thought the reason why they developed this ability to do backflips in the first place was to be able to avoid predatory birds trying to swoop down and grab them. Basically, evasive maneuvering. A lot of these tumbler pigeons can also be seen at pigeon shows, and some of the more fancy ones have these long feathers on their feet.
Hey, Apple! What?
You know, I could totally see why people would be upset about this. This was extremely distasteful. It's been a while since I've been tagged in one of these Hey Apple slideshows. This one starts off with an image of Neil Patrick Harris saying, "Hey Amy," an image of Amy Winehouse saying, "What?" Then a very strange card that says the corpse of Amy Winehouse with a few different food items on it. For context, Amy Winehouse was an extremely popular singer and songwriter, and back in 2011 she ended up passing away after consuming far too much alcohol. Of course, the world and her fans were in mourning, but only 3 months after she passed away, Neil Patrick Harris ended up throwing a Halloween party with a cake that went way too far, basically modeling what Amy Winehouse would have looked like after passing away. Neil did apologize for this, stating that it was regrettable then and now, and that he's sorry for any hurt that the image caused. I would like to apologize in advance because I tried for hours to find the exact context behind this video. I couldn't quite do it, but I still want to break this down. The video that you guys just watched shows security camera footage of a guy entering the pen of what initially looks to be a dairy cow. In reality, it's a bull, and the guy ends up walking through. The bull starts putting off some very odd body language, and then pins him up against the wall and tosses him like a bag of rocks. So again, I know it doesn't look like it, but what we were looking at was probably a Holstein bull. These guys, for the most part, when they're young, are extremely docile, but when they get older, they can get extremely aggressive and just flip a switch, attacking people that they've known for a long time. I'm not too sure exactly what happened to this guy. I'm assuming that he survived, probably with some injuries, and the context behind this isn't very clear. There was one rumor that I saw saying this guy was trying to steal the bull, and if that's true, good riddance.
So if you've had enough,
I hate that this was brought to my attention, but now that it has been, I feel like I have to talk about it. This video doesn't have a whole lot of context. It shows this girl looking disgusted with the caption, "I've seen some messy rooms before, but I ain't ever seen used pads and pee just sitting there." For some context, recently there's been this TikTok trend. It is absolutely disgusting. There's this audio that says, "Come to the land of the lost and lonely," and people are showing how messy their rooms are. Now keep in mind guys, I did junk removal for a few years, so I've seen some pretty bad messes, but nothing quite like this. People straight up have rotting food in their rooms with maggots hatching on it, heaps of trash, and again, food waste, which, by the way guys, is extremely unhealthy to live in. This can cause some severe respiratory problems. The only positive that has come from this TikTok trend is the fact that people are now inspired to clean their rooms because they don't want their rooms to end up like this. It is gross.
Hey, Apple! What?
If you look closely at this photo, you can see the fear in this guy's eyes, and it makes it even more disturbing when you realize this is the last photo of him. This is another Hey Apple slideshow that I got tagged in, starting off with a woman by the name of Jody saying, "Hey Travis," an image of Travis saying, "What?" and ending with Travis's final image. For background, Jody Arias and Travis Alexander had been lovers, they had been dating, and their relationship was extremely tumultuous, with lots of highs and lows. In 2008, Travis and Jody would no longer be together. Travis would enter a new relationship, but he would still have contact with Jody. On June 4th of 2008, Jody would end up visiting Travis. She would snap this final photo of him while he was in the shower, and then she would end up taking his life in an extremely grisly way. 27 uses of a sharp object and one of these. She claimed this was self-defense, but she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'm certainly not going to be showing the entire video here, but most of you are probably familiar with this one anyways. For those that aren't, this clip shows a simple magic trick. This guy has his performer in a box, and he cuts through the box with a chainsaw. Pretty normal stuff. What he's doing is a variation of the extremely sawbox trick that pretty much every magician has done before, but the lore behind this clip is extremely dark. In most scenarios with the sawbox, there are two performers, one on the bottom, one on the top. The rumor behind this video, though, is that the magician's wife in here got stuck and was unable to move herself safely into one of the compartments, which meant when he cut through with the chainsaw, he actually ended up going through her and she lost her life. The only issue with this story is the fact that there are no accounts online that officially recognize this as an accident that ever happened, and if you do a deep dive into well-known performances of this trick, there's nothing that comes up either. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit tired of this audio. I muted the sound at the beginning, so sorry about that, guys. That being said, this is another Impacto music video that I got tagged in. This one shows an extremely disturbing video, although it doesn't look like it at first. It's quite literally just doorbell camera footage of a woman by the name of Shannon Watts entering her home. Now you guys are probably piecing this together. For context, back in 2018, Shannon Watts and her two children, Bella and Celeste, ended up losing their lives at the hands of her husband, Christopher Lee Watts, with the presumed motive to be starting over anew with a brand new love interest. The reason why this footage is so disturbing is because it shows Shannon entering the home for the last time, unassuming and unaware of what's about to happen. Initially, Christopher tried to maintain his innocence, but eventually did admit to taking the lives of his family, and he is serving multiple consecutive life sentences. I hate to break it to the people that tagged me in this slideshow, but this right here, 99.9% likely to be fake. This is a 2-image slideshow that I got tagged in, starting off by showing this weird looking snake that has these two horns with the caption, "King of the Snakes." And the second image appears to show an actual version of this snake with horns. Now first off, despite there being many accounts of people seeing snakes with horns, and the fact that multiple cultures across the world have believed in these serpents with horns, we do not have any definitive proof that that actually exists, and the closest thing we have are horned vipers, and even then, these aren't actual horns, they're just scales. Mythologically speaking though, it is still very interesting how many different depictions of horned serpents we have, and some of them are nice and some of them are evil. It really just depends culture to culture. Again though, this photo is fake. I found the actual video for it and it certainly looks AI generated to me.
Oh, it's working.
I've covered a few of these types of videos in the past. Most of the time they've been fake, but this time I think this is actually real. This video shows this very strange looking object turning on. The guy recording then puts his camera right above this hole, and you'll notice that there's a lot more camera noise right here. These little dots are showing up everywhere. Now, unless you're recording with an extremely old camera, dots showing up on a video like this is not normal. This is most often going to be attributed to radiation. The high energy particles from radiation can make contact with the camera sensors, and the camera will pick this up as light, which is where you get these small flashes of light that look like snow or static. Now, according to the person who uploaded this, they state that this is a safe level of radiation, and that they stay well within the safe range of radiation that you can experience within a day, month, or year, etc. Still, this is not something an average person would want to be around. If it's impacting your camera, it's probably impacting you.
How are we seeing the shadow of the tree, and it's the sky behind the tree?
I know this might be a little bit puzzling, but believe it or not, this is an extremely simple explanation. It won't take too long to break it down. So this video shows two people hanging out outside. They're shining their flashlight up into the sky, and there are two things that are confusing them. Number one, their flashlight beam seems to just randomly stop at a point and not go any further, and number two, the shadow from the tree here is visible in the sky. Now, I can somewhat understand the process here. You think that the beam of light is just going to go up indefinitely into the sky, but it really just depends on the weather conditions. At any given time, there are lots of particles in the sky from different sources that light can and will reflect off of. This will prevent your beam of light from just fading out into the distance, and instead you are seeing those particles, the light waves are being reflected off and coming back and meeting your eye. It's the exact same principle that allows people to have spotlights at nighttime and the shadow here as their design.
Doing this was a horrible idea.
Boy, is this alcohol?
Not gonna lie, this feels a little bit like karma because she was trying to do something that she shouldn't have been trying to do in the first place. This is a video that was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, we can see these individuals who have signed themselves up for an underwater excursion. When this person flips upside down, losing their helmet that's providing them oxygen, and they have to make a swift turnaround to resurface. Now, the experience that this person signed up for is known as helmet diving. This allows inexperienced divers to be able to see what it's like underwater in a safe and controlled environment. The main issue here is that this diver tried to jump up and touch this stingray, which put her feet off balance, which caused her feet to flip up under the bars, which is something that's actually happened before. This is a completely separate incident. Of course, the main concern here, because she had to surface so quickly, is decompression sickness, which usually takes place when people are at a depth of 9 meters or more. All that to say, don't do this, keep your hands on these rails.
It's simple. Don't stand on a DD well.
Money.
I feel like you guys already know what I'm going to say. This is a bad idea. This is quite an interesting TikTok video that you guys have tagged me in here. It shows these three individuals standing on top of a clearly deceased whale, swimming, diving off of it, and using it as their personal floating dock. Now, first off, because there's literally no context to this video, I'm not too sure what did the whale in. More than likely, though, it passed away from old age or potentially a ship strike. That's pretty common. That being said, the two reasons why this is something you probably shouldn't do. Number one, dead whales can explode. When a whale passes away, a very large amount of bacteria on the inside start working to decompose and break down all of the material here. The whale essentially is like a ticking time bomb. A bunch of gases get built up inside, and eventually it can go boom. This whale does look pretty fresh, so probably not too much risk there, but also it's just disrespectful to the wildlife. I know that there's no context to this video, therefore it's probably confusing, but don't worry guys, I've got the backstory. This is another Impacto music video that I got tagged in that shows this young girl crying on a couch, and then the camera changes to one of her eyes, and you'll notice that it looks extremely weird, almost like it's fake, and that's because it is. So this video was first posted in July of 2017 in Brazil, and this 11-year-old girl decided to do something that wasn't too smart. She had a fixation with getting blue eyes, she didn't have access to colored contacts, so instead of doing this, she decided to take a blue eye from a doll that she had and place it into her eye socket. Her eyelid then closed around it, sealing it in and getting it stuck, and by herself she was unable to get it out. Fortunately, only about 45 seconds after the video started, her mom did assist, she was able to get it out, and this is probably something that she never tried again.
One day you might have this surgery.
You guys might not believe me, but about half of the people watching this video might eventually end up getting this surgery. It's kind of hard to tell what we're looking at here, but this is an eye surgery taking place. This brownish area is the lens of the eye, and we can see the surgeon scooping out the lens here, and this is for a very good reason. When animals get older, including humans, the lens of the eye starts to break down. These proteins will then coagulate, join up, and they will create something known as a cataract. Cataracts only get worse over time, they obscure your vision, and this is what it would look like if you had cataracts versus without. The good news is, you are able to remove the lens with surgery and get it replaced, and they use a process known as phacoemulsification, which uses sound to break down the cataract proteins, and then it's suctioned out like a vacuum. An artificial lens will then take its place, and then your vision will be much, much better. Probably 99% of the people watching this video have seen this famous photo, but I would be willing to bet most people don't know the backstory. This is a very simple photo that went super viral back in 2014. It shows a woman hiding underneath this awning on her roof, and this man with his head popped up over, presumably looking for her. Now this happened in LA, and the woman right here is this one, Melora Rivera. She was known for a small role in a Whitney Houston movie back in 2012, and the person that broke into her house was Christian Hicks, a 29-year-old. He was a transient, essentially homeless. Melora said that as soon as she noticed him in her house, she made a beeline up to the roof in order to avoid being in there with him at the exact same time. It's unclear as to exactly why Christian broke into her house in the first place, but police were called, dispatched very quickly, and Melora was able to climb down a ladder while Christian, of course, got arrested.
If your soup looks like this, don't eat it.
Full disclosure, I don't know exactly what this is inside this pot, but I have a pretty darn good idea. This is a TikTok video that a lot of you guys tagged me in that supposedly shows this person and their first time making soup. And you'll notice this doesn't really look too appealing. A lot of people were even calling this scarlet rot. If you know, you know. Based on the color, a lot of people thought that this was some sort of blood soup, and while that is a real thing, I disagree. This right here to me looks a lot more similar. It's got the same exact deep, dark, vibrant red, and this is one of the steps of creating jam. When it comes to making a fruit compote or jam, you do have to boil your ingredients. Oftentimes it will end up coagulating and condensing down, which occasionally doesn't boil properly, so you have this very thick liquid that kind of sludges up like this. Again, I'm not too sure, but if I had to guess, I would say that we're making some sort of spreadable fruit. I'm sure a fair amount of you guys have seen the security camera footage from this incident, but just in case you haven't, probably best to steer clear. This clip doesn't have a whole lot of context. We can see this guy standing outside, kind of hobbling around. We can see the number 15 up here, and the caption, "To this day, this story hurts my soul." For context, this is an incident that happened back in 2018 in the Bronx, involving this young man right here, a 15-year-old named Lissandro, or Junior for short. On June 20th, 2018, Lissandro ran into a small bodega seeking shelter, trying to escape from a group of Trinitarios, a gang. Unfortunately, after the gang members found him in the store, they pulled him outside, did some horrendous things to him, and this resulted in Junior losing his life. The worst part about this is the gang members had no reason to take Junior's life. They thought he was mistakenly a member of a rival gang, when in reality he was not. Many of you guys are probably familiar with this case, and if you remember, this woman is doing something pretty heinous. At a surface level, this video looks innocent enough. We can see this woman walking up to a coffee maker and placing something inside, and you wouldn't know anything was off unless you read the caption here. It's 2023 and you find out your wife has been putting bleach in your morning coffee. For some context, back in 2023, Melody Johnson and her military husband were undergoing a divorce. They were in Germany at the time, and her husband noticed a very strange taste in his coffee in the morning, very chemical. He suspected that something was up, so he pretended to finish his coffee every morning until eventually they moved back to the US in July of 23. He then set up hidden cameras and captured hard evidence of his wife pouring bleach into his coffee. She was then tried and sentenced last year. In total, she spent 1 year in jail awaiting trial, and then she was served 3 years of probation with no additional prison time.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can...
I feel like the #1 rule of nature is to not consume mushrooms that have red caps, but this guy is going to town. When I first watched this video sent to me, I could not believe my eyes. This guy is going to town on an Amanita muscara mushroom. It's this large red cap with these white dots on top. And presumably this guy is doing this because he wants to go on a little trip. This right here is the specific mushroom, the Amanita muscaria, also known as the fly agaric mushroom. It is very easily recognizable. And this mushroom is actually poisonous, so you're probably wondering why somebody would willingly eat this. Simple, this mushroom has hallucinogenic properties because of 2 different compounds that are inside of it. This does not change the fact, though, that it's not recommended to consume this mushroom, and while fatality is rare, there still are some pretty bad side effects from eating it, like stomach cramps, nausea, and dizziness.
Why you don't pick off tire hair?
Guys, you should never, ever trust a video by its title immediately. This is actually not true. This is completely fine to do. This is a super viral TikTok video that shows somebody doing something we've all done before, plucking off these little rubber pieces from a tire. And some of you guys have probably wondered what these are for, so let's talk about it. First off, a lot of people refer to these as tire hair. In reality, they're known as vent spews, and they are completely innocuous. They serve no purpose. During the manufacturing process, in order to create the exact pattern that you want for the tread on a tire, you use one of these, a tire mold. During the process, there's lots of pressure going in here, and in order to make sure that there's enough space for the rubber to get down, there are these tiny little vents here that allow tiny bits of rubber to get out to relieve some of the pressure. As a result, you get these small pieces of rubber that would cost more money to remove than not, which is why they just keep them on.
This mosquito will suck you dry.
At first, I thought this was an animatronic. I didn't think this was actually a thing. Then I saw it move and I realized it's real. This video was sent to me through Instagram DM. It shows this large winged insect, and you'll notice it kind of bears a resemblance to a mosquito in some ways. Fortunately, this monstrosity of an insect is not actually a mosquito. It's something known as a robber fly. Side note, the largest mosquito in the world is the Australian elephant mosquito, and they don't even bite humans, thankfully. But back to the robber fly, it is a predatory insect that flies through the air and stabs other insects with its proboscis and then consumes them. Robber flies are also able to deliver a pretty painful bite to humans, but they usually don't do that only if you handle them aggressively and they feel unsafe. If you were an insect, though, these would be terrifying because not only do they stab you, they inject you with saliva that dissolves your inside. There's going to be a lot of information to break down in a minute, so let's just get right into it. This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in has 4 different images taken from a trail cam. In these images, we can see a woman wearing not much of anything, using a stick as a cane. For context, these images were taken back in 2021, and this woman was referred to as the Wadesboro Jane Doe. That's because several months after this image was taken on trail cam, the remains of this woman were found not too far away from a few buildings, and nobody really knew who she was. She was unidentified at that point. Due to a variety of new information amassed over the past few years, the Jane Doe here is actually believed to be Amber Ray Johnston. She was living in Arizona at the time that she went missing, so it's unclear as to how she got to North Carolina, but her mother, Sharon, believes that she was trying to visit an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
No amount of these videos with this creepy audio is going to make me believe it, but you know what? I'm still going to talk about it because it is creepy. This is a video that was posted to TikTok recently. However, it's an extremely old video from 2010. In it, we can see this kid just sitting down on a chair minding his own business when he gets yanked backwards with a lot of force by seemingly nothing. So for some context, this video was from Jamaica. Again, it was uploaded back in 2010, and it claims to show this 11-year-old boy who's being haunted by a duppy. In Caribbean folklore, duppies are malevolent spirits or ghosts, meaning if it were haunting you, it would make your life a living hell. There's really not a whole lot of information available about this online, especially after this was recorded, but what we do know is that this was a documentary-style video that was allegedly aired on TV. Some people look at it, though, as proof that duppies exist, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.
Sorry, this creature does not exist.
Money!
I don't want to burst anybody's bubble right now, but this is not real. This has to be the 3rd time I've seen a video like this. This one was recently posted to TikTok where it went viral. It shows these people playing around with a fish, but there's a little something funky going on here. Fish aren't supposed to have claws, so you might be wondering, is this a new creature that scientists just discovered? No. So the type of fish seen in the video here is more than likely a catfish, and for some reason, catfish seem to be the primary victims of this hoax. So to me, it's pretty obvious what these people are doing. They're either taking lobster or crab claws and they're sticking it into the gills of the catfish. And you guys already know I'm going to denounce this, stating that this is not a very sportsmanlike thing to do. If you're going to eat the catfish, just consume it. Don't prolong its suffering by using it as a prop to make a viral TikTok video. I'll be the first to admit it, this is indeed an old video from 2023, but it's recently been going viral again, so I'm going to talk about it again. This clip shows a group on a helicopter tour at the Grand Canyon. You'll see this pilot makes a small adjustment to this lever. The passenger then attempts to reach up and pull the lever down. The pilot grabs her arm and tosses it away, then firmly reprimands her and tells her that it would kill them all. The reason why the helicopter pilot freaked out is because this lever is a rotor brake. The rotor brake is exactly what it sounds like. It prevents the rotors from spinning. Usually this is used after the engine is turned off and they're just trying to get the rotors to stop while they're grounded. Engaging this in flight is obviously a terrible idea. However, it wouldn't immediately stop the rotors and cause you to fall out of the sky. You have to push this switch to engage it, and even then it would take a lot of force to pull this down, far more than a person could exert.
Ready? Yeah.
I'm sorry guys, I cannot show you the end of this clip, otherwise it'll get taken down, but exactly what you think was going to happen is what happened. With 4th of July coming up tomorrow, I figured I might as well make a safety PSA. This video shows a guy holding a firework in his hand, it's about to be lit, and oh thank goodness this guy is wearing a safety glove. Yeah, obviously I'm being sarcastic, because as soon as the firework goes off, everything goes horribly wrong, and he's left saying this. Oh, my hand's gone! It's gone! So what's the solution here? Well, the only fireworks that you should be holding this 4th of July are sparklers. These are meant to be held in your hands. Anything larger than a sparkler is kind of risky, and when you're approaching mortar territory, your hands could be looking like this by the end of the night. I'm not going to be able to show you guys images of what these look like with actual skin. It is gnarly though. You'll never pick up a firework in your life after that. Unfortunately, every year stuff like this happens, so stay safe guys. Well, it looks like we have a new song that people are using to overlay on disturbing videos, so let's talk about this one. Now, there's not a lot of context to this video. We can see somebody that's dressed up like a religious figure, this guy who clearly looks very uncomfortable. And despite the fact that I couldn't find the original video that this came from, I do know who this is. His name is Tesak. For context, Tesak's real name was Maxim, and he was a Russian media personality who had a very colorful past with very colorful beliefs. He did a lot of predator catching videos where he would shame them and treat them horribly, and while a good amount of people were predators that he caught, some of them allegedly weren't, and instead he was just allegedly targeting people from the LGBTQ+ community. Regardless, because of Tesak's flawed belief system and the fact that he was an open racist, he was in and out of prison and eventually ended up taking his life in 2020.
Oh my god, I gotta go. What? Oh my god!
If you hate spiders, especially large ones, going into a cave is one of the last places you would want to be. This is exactly what this guy found out in this video that I got tagged in, showing him exploring a cave, and then freaking out, screaming, and stating these are the largest spiders that he's ever seen. And this is not an exaggeration. While caves can be home to large wildlife like bear, cougar, and that's something you have to keep in mind, a lot of people don't realize just how many different types of cave spiders there are. The average species of large spiders that you're going to find in a cave are usually going to be around an inch in size, which is pretty large, especially for North America. But depending on what cave you're going in, you could find things like giant huntsman spiders, which are located in Laos. They're endemic to the area, so don't worry. Or whip spiders, for example, which can be found in a wider area of caves, and don't worry, they're harmless as well. All that to say, yeah, you're probably going to find creepy crawlies in the cave. This video might look pretty unassuming, but there's actually a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. This clip shows a military woman by the name of Brianna Williams looking quite shocked. She then places her hand up to her mouth because she's about to throw up, and that's for a very specific reason. For some backstory, Brianna had a 5-year-old daughter that she had reported missing. However, Brianna knew exactly where her daughter was because her daughter had recently passed away. The reason is, Brianna did not take care of her daughter at all, left her at home by herself, and she was only 5, and she was extremely malnourished, which is believed to be the cause of death. She then attempted to dispose of the remains and report her missing, but police and authorities started catching on, so she became less cooperative. Eventually, police found the daughter's body, so Brianna drank laundry detergent in an attempt to remove herself from the gene pool. However, it failed, and she has been sentenced to life in prison. I can tell you right now, if this were to happen to me, I would never fly another plane again in my life. This 4-image video shows a very famous incident that happened back in 1990. We can see this guy who's outside of the plane, another image of a man holding this guy's legs, an image of an inspector standing through a cockpit window, and a man in a hospital bed. For context, back on June 10th of 1990, an insane incident happened to British Airways flight 5390. After taking off from England heading towards Spain, only 13 minutes into this flight, this paneled window came out, which caused an explosive decompression and sucked out this pilot by the name of Tim Lancaster. Tim didn't just fly out though, his legs got caught on the controls, and after some of the other personnel started holding onto his legs, he was safe. The plane, of course, then turned around and landed. All the while, Tim was stuck on the outside. He was brought to the hospital, but he actually turned out okay. Before you guys start freaking out, don't worry, this is happening for a very good reason. This is a super viral TikTok video with no context that I got tagged in. It shows this kid crying out while his eye is forcefully being held open and liquid is being poured into it. To give some background, this video was uploaded yesterday on the 4th of July, and the kid was playing with firecrackers. And I'm sure you guys are familiar, but if you're not, firecrackers leave behind quite a bit of debris. There's lots of small particles that are released when they blow up. So this kid ended up getting some of that debris in his eye, and I'm sure his guardians attempted to have him rinse his eyes out in the sink, but since he's a kid, he probably was not cooperating. So I'm assuming they had to go get actual medical help where they have these eye clamps that prevent them from shutting their eyes, to rinse out the eye properly, more than likely with water, and to make sure that there's no real damage. If this happens to you while you're flying, you really do not have to worry, guys. This is completely normal. This video shows a person lifting their knuckle up to the window of this airplane, resting it against it, and once they start pushing outward, we can see all these little cracks showing up. The implication here is that the airplane window is fragile, when in reality, it's not. So for those that didn't know, airplane windows are made out of acrylic, not glass, and it's not just one sheet by itself, it's actually double panes, meaning there is a small space in the center of the two panes. And because of how cold it is at high altitude, the water vapor inside of the double pane will end up freezing, attaching itself to the window, so when you push against it, you are going to lightly crack that ice. Don't get me wrong, airplane windows can crack, they're definitely not bulletproof, but it would take a ridiculous amount of pressure to truly break one. Doing this with your knuckle and lightly pressing against it won't do anything.
How the Moe walked on Easter Island.
Boy, is this alcohol?
You know what, I'm actually going to give you a little bit of credit here because I do think that you're thinking outside of the box, and that's cool. This video shows a small demonstration of how this person believes the Moai, or the Easter Island heads, got moved into their current location. The setup here is interesting. The Moai has 2 sticks attached to it and it is walking. And while the thought is cool, it's not nearly as practical as this method, which is widely believed to be how they actually moved the Moai. It was done by having 3 groups of people tethered to the Moai, then they moved back and forth, enabling it to walk, and this has actually been proved, so it is definitely a lot more practical than the other way. The only reason this is working so well is because it's on a downhill slope, and even then, in order to support the weight of an actual Moai, you would need insanely huge logs, much more than what they would have access to. Even this method would be more realistic, and this one's not widely accepted at all.
Whatever you do, don't watch this video.
When I first watched this video, I for sure thought something horrible happened. However, after doing research, I realized nothing happened. This is a video I found posted to TikTok, rumored to be taken from the dark web. It doesn't have context, but it shows this woman. She doesn't have a very happy expression, and she's cutting open this very strange looking object on her counter using a hacksaw, leading us to believe the worst has happened. In reality, this woman is likely cutting open a very strange looking animal by the name of Piura chilensis. The animal itself is known as a tunicate, and it kind of almost resembles a rock with organs on the inside. People do actually consume the meat on the inside though, which is why that woman was cutting it open, and it's been described as having a very strong, almost sea urchin-like flavor. You can also consume it raw or cooked, and it goes well with chopped cilantro, onions, and lemon. It's pretty insane, isn't it, guys? The amount of power one single explosion can have. This is a video that, no pun intended, has been blowing up on pretty much every single social media platform. It shows this person recording an explosion taking place approximately 1/4 of a mile away, and in the video we can literally see the shockwave progress through the trees, and it's so powerful that the windshield on this vehicle breaks. For context, this incident happened very recently this past Wednesday near the Ukrainian village of Berezina. And at this point, all we know is that 2 explosions took place. The first one at an industrial plant, there's no real cause for that, we don't know yet, and the second one took place at a gas station, which is likely what was recorded here. Because of this explosion, 2 people ended up losing their lives, with over 80 people that were injured. Fortunately, none of the injured appear to be in unstable condition. They're going to make a full recovery likely.
Esta es una llamada a todas las unidades de la ciudad de Miami.
I am not making this video to change anybody's mind. You can choose to believe what you want to believe, but personally, I think this is all a little too unbelievable. So this TikTok that I got tagged in shows a viral incident that took place between late 2023 to early 2024 at the Miami Mall. You can see hundreds of officers. They were allegedly responding to a group of teenagers, so people thought this was a disproportionate response, therefore something else must have been going on. That's where this really bizarre theory came in, that aliens were entering a portal and they were dropping into the Miami Mall, which is why so many police were there, and that there was a 10-foot alien. And while I agree, this response to a few teenagers causing trouble is a lot, that's not the full story. The kids were actually setting off fireworks, so people thought it was an active shooter. In other videos, you can see full crowds of people running out, so yeah, if the police thought that's what was happening, it's definitely a warranted response.